Hi, Bryan McWhorter here with Black Belt Lean Thinking. I'm excited to bring you today's topic, standard work. Standard work is an incredible enabler. It is the glue that will hold your lean activities together and form the basis of your production system or your processes. Again, without implementing standard work, continuous improvement probably is not going to happen. When someone starts in a new job, they come to your outfit or starting at a restaurant or manufacturing facility, whatever, they are going to have one of two experiences. Either tribal knowledge, the old traditional approach of job shadowing. So I come to work new and I'm put with Bill, who's been doing this job for 20 years, and he's going to show me the ropes, show me what to do. The problem with that is you will not have much consistency that way, and it won't be the best experience for the new person. Yeah, I'll tell you about one of my experiences. Years ago when I was a production mechanic, I went to work in a department. This department and facility had been in operation for 30 years or so. And some of the people that were mechanics in this area had been doing the same job for over 20 years. I got with one of the seasoned veterans. They put me with the job shadow, and he trained me for a couple days. And then they put me with someone else who'd been in there for the equal amount of time. The things these people showed me were night and day difference. They had totally different approaches for setting up the equipment, for running their processes. I could not have been more confused. The next several months, I think I consistently made some pretty bad product, as did a lot of other people in the department, because we did not have any standards in place. A more modern approach would be to have standards, so that a new worker shows up, you're able to hand him a sheet of paper, or her, showing what those activities are they're going to be engaged in through the course of the shift of the day. What does that do to relax somebody? At least being able to identify the things that are going to make up the activities of your day really goes a long way towards learning and having a structure in place. Okay, now going with standardized work, let's kind of walk through how we set all this up and why it's so important. So we'll put our organization together here again. And typically we'll have something like this where, again, higher up the organization you have fewer and fewer people with more and more authority. And at the top we have the why, the goal, the main purpose of the business. I've talked about this before. That's that Hoshin. That's that main thing that everyone is striving for. If you're a restaurant, maybe it's we're going to produce the best steaks in town. There are a lot of restaurants, but we know that if people want a good steak, they come to us. For manufacturing, it might be the highest quality, the fastest delivery time, whatever. But that goal needs to be in place. That's the why. Why they're in business, why they're doing what they're doing. Once that is established, that needs to trickle down through all departments. All departments need to have goals set up that support that. Any activity that does not support that needs to be removed. Okay, now we're into the what. The what is those activities that the person does through the course of the day, that piece of paper. What we're looking for is a process that's reliable, repeatable, and capable. And I will repeat those words probably several times through this. What we're looking for is removing variation. And standardized work is the only way to do that. There's a reason why franchises are so popular and work so well, because they give you the same experience. If I walk into a McDonald's and buy a Big Mac here at my hometown versus any other city in America, I'm going to get the same experience, because they're using the same vendors as suppliers, or using the same process for the cooking, the same equipment. So I'm pretty much guaranteed that same experience. Removing variation is what it's all about. Again, repeatable, reliable, and capable. If you're going on averages, it can be very deceiving. Let's use that McDonald's analogy again. Again, when it comes to removing variation, that's all the customer cares about. They feel variation. Let's say there's a local McDonald's that I go to every day for lunch, and I get a 30-minute lunch break. The first day I go there on Monday, and within 5 minutes I have my food. The second day it takes me 10 minutes. Third day, 15. Fourth day, 20 minutes. And then the next day they'll say they have a good day and they do it in 5 again. Okay, you could put that together to an average, which will be a number that I never even experienced in terms of waiting. But I do know this. I know that it takes me between 5 minutes and 20 minutes to get my food. With a 30-minute break, I need to know what that is. That's variation. That's what your customers feel. with products, with services, and we want to eliminate as much variation as possible. Hey, standard work, identifying all those tasks and making sure that, again, your processes are capable of meeting what that goal is, meeting customer demand. If you've heard the term takt time, okay, takt time is your customer demand rate. If you're producing the takt time, you're meeting customer demand. If you're producing slower than takt time, then the customer's waiting. If you're producing faster than takt time, then you're building inventory. So you want to know what that customer demand rate is and hopefully model your products and services, your activities to that. The more control you have, the better experience you're going to give to that customer and remove that variation. Okay, the why is the goal. The what are those activities that we do through the course of the day. And the last in this equation is the how. How do we do it? That's where the power of your teams come into play. There's always one best way to do an activity. I'll go back to those mechanics who were training me using job shadowing, in their traditional approach. If you have, like I saw with them, different mechanics doing the same job on different shifts, you can have, if you have 4 shifts, you could possibly have 4 totally different ways of doing those activities. So there needs to be some studies and find out what are the best, safest, most efficient ways to do that job. Again, some studying and working with the teams is going to have to come into play to identify those things. Once that's done, it needs to be documented. That's the how. For every activity identified in the what, you need a sheet explaining the best way to do that. Okay, once that's done, now you can drive continuous improvement. Otherwise, you're going to have a problem. You're going to have something sort of like this. Someone comes up with an improvement, and with time, they go back to the old way. And then they redo the standard, and then they go back to the old way. It always goes back to that old state. But if you have standard work in place, and everyone agrees to follow the standard work, again, you're using the team approach, bringing people on in the beginning so they have a hand in doing this. Remember, we don't like being told what to do. We like being told what the problem is and given the opportunity to work ourselves to solve that, working with our peers. So now if someone comes up with a great new way to do something, then you put a standard in place. Then someone comes up with another new improvement. Put the standard in place. So you're continuing to improve. Again, that goes such a long way in building morale. Everyone should know that if you've been doing lean for a while, that the job is much better now than it was a few months ago. And I'm excited to think that a few months from now, my job's going to be even better because I'm going to flush out more of those problems that frustrate me, and I'll create a better work environment, better experience for everybody throughout the organization, and much better for our customers. So I mentioned, putting those improvements in place. That is a concept called Kaizen. Okay, Kaizen just means small improvement for the better. Once you have standards in place, you've established your why, you know what happens through the course of the day, and now you've put together your standard work in terms of instructions on how to do something. Now you can work on improving it because you can standardize and keep moving forward, keep getting better and better and better. Again, I can't overemphasize the importance of standard work. We'll use, I would say, the industry that sets the standard for standardized work would be aviation. Again, because of the safety involved, everything from the pre-flight checklist to the instructions the pilots follow from the towers, everyone follows the same rules. All planes flying east are going to fly at a certain altitude, which is different from those flying west. Again, when you are in an airliner flying at 30,000 feet in the air at hundreds of miles an hour and basically a pressurized metal tube, it's kind of nice to know that safety was really thought out and that at least they're following some good guidelines and instructions. Again, you do not want inspiration of the moment in an airline or in your work environment. You don't want people shooting from the hip. As part of those standards, you want to identify what are the main hurdles or problems that you run into and put contingency plans in place. Hard word to say, contingency. So that they have a plan A, a plan B. Typically that 80-20 rule will be in application here. In other words, if you ask the people doing the work, they feel the pain, they know the problems they typically run into. So identify standards for the best way to deal with those problems. Again, if I go back to that airline, the last thing I want to think of happening in that cockpit is for the captain to look over at the co-pilot and go, gee, I've never seen this before. What do you think we should do? No, I want a plan A, a plan B. I want all scenarios worked out in advance. Same in your work environment. Have these things planned out. As I stated in the beginning, your standard work is really the glue that enables everything. You cannot move forward with Kaizen until you've established that standard work. Now I'm going to give you a quick bonus tip before I wrap this up. Lean tools are just as applicable in your home life, your personal life, as they are in the work environment. You have standard work you do at home that you probably have just kind of done just as a natural order of things, and we call these habits, your routines. Following a routine is easy. Establishing it can be difficult. Establishing a new habit takes work and effort. In the work environment, same, getting people to go along with any change can be difficult, but once you have it as routine, the habit, then wow, it is so much easier to go by when people aren't fighting one another and they're doing the same thing. Same in your home life, coming up with establishing habits that work to your benefit in terms of your health, relationships, finance, education, having a plan in place and moving forward. Remember, good things happen by purpose, bad things happen by neglect. Not putting a plan in place. Now that I earn my living doing this as a consultant and a writer, I've used lean tools to help manage my time. So I set up kind of word banks when I'm doing copywriting, the words that I most often use fitting the niche I have. I have the structure in line. So I'm able to write better copy because I'm thinking now of content rather than just thinking about kind of the whole shebang. So the power of lean is really tremendous. It gives you a framework and something to focus on. Okay, that's my spiel on that. Anyway, look at your work environment. Do you have standards in place? Like I mentioned at the beginning, if I were to come to work at your place, wherever you're at, would you be able to hand me a document that shows me the activities I'm going to engage in through my shift? Do you have all that outlined? Is there a structured Kaizen system where people can drive improvements? Do you know what your tack time is? To line all that up to make sure you can actually meet customer demand, meet the goal. All very important concepts. Again, if you want more information on this, feel free to contact me, share this information, feel free to like it. Again, I love giving this information out. This is stuff that every business needs to use in creating their own good system for operation. Okay, Black Belt Lean Thinking, thank you.